Welcome to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, mindset coach and imposter syndrome expert, and I'm here to tell you that imposter syndrome isn't a life sentence. It's just a dysfunctional way of thinking. If you feel like your ideas are unoriginal, that your message isn't necessary or important, or like you're a complete and total fraud, then you've come to the right place. Time to kick your inner imposter to the curb and create life-changing results for you and your clients. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Today on the podcast, we have my client, Estelle Petrequin. She is a career transition coach, and she takes millennials from struggle to clarity and confidence in their career and in their life. Estelle came to me a couple of months ago, actually. I would say probably near the beginning of 2021. So actually not a couple months ago because it's already October as I'm recording this. And she actually pitched me to go on Instagram Live with her. And then after we got off Instagram Live, she started to binge all my shit and she bought the From Imposter to Empowered course. And then she was like, holy shit, I need to work with Jill in some capacity. And she ended up joining the Worthy Woman Method. Estelle is somebody who she was actually making a career transition herself from a health coach to a career and success coach. And she had so much imposter syndrome, so much fear around it. But as always, these are just optional thoughts that aren't really true. And we did the work, and now she is doing so well in this new niche of hers. I love having her in the Worthy Woman Method. You can find her on Instagram at Your Coach Estelle. And you are going to learn in this episode the things that can hold you back from transitioning into a new career, even if that career is in the online space or if it's out in the corporate world, whatever it is. But also the fact that you don't need to feel bad about the fact that this is new or scary or that you have fear around it, and to tell the difference between your intuition and just fear that is showing up. So I hope you guys love this episode. She's also going to go in on the Worthy Woman Method and how much she loves it and the big shifts that she has experienced as a result of being inside of the Worthy Woman Method, which, you guys, as you are listening to this, we are opening up the doors next week for enrollment. I am so excited. And if you are not already on the wait list, you can actually join my Feel Qualified Masterclass to help you start with the tools to overcome your imposter syndrome and actually feel like an expert at what you do. And then that will automatically grant you to be on the Worthy Woman Method wait list, where you can save $222 if you decide to enroll and join us in this lifetime access group coaching program to help you consistently overcome imposter syndrome and overcome mindset limitations so you can have the business that you desire. So without further ado, my client, Estelle. Hello, Estelle. Thank you so much for being here today on the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. We're excited.
Yeah, I am super excited to have you here as well. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about who you are and how you became a coach?
All right. So I'm Estelle. I'm a career and success coach. And I actually started as a health and wellness coach. And with my experience, I saw that there was more and more need for especially millennials to kind of figure out what they wanted to do with their lives, with their careers more specifically. And I realized this is something I struggled with myself before becoming a coach. And I also worked in recruitment and all that. So I kind of like intuitively, it happened, it came to me and I was like, this is my path. This is what I got to do. I have to help people, especially people around our age, figure out what they want to do with their lives and find a career that's aligned with their soul, with their aspirations, with their ideal life as well, not just work, because work is such a big part of life that I think it's so important to approach it in a way that is really holistic. So yeah, that's basically what I focus on.
So good. And it's really funny because I remember when you made this pivot, you had just joined the Worthy Woman Method and you were making the pivot and you were like, I feel like I don't have a lot of experience. You literally just told us you worked in recruitment. So I just think it's so funny how we sometimes can't see what's right in front of us in terms of our experience and our education. And we just tell ourselves it's not good enough, it's not enough. And that can really affect how we move forward with things. So speaking of the Worthy Woman, you are inside of the Worthy Woman method, and I'm so happy to have you inside. Can you tell the listeners why you actually joined the Worthy Woman method?
Okay, so I have been following you for a while, for I don't know, maybe 6 months, something like that. And I really liked what you talked about, the imposter syndrome topic. I feel like it's something that every single person is affected by. And as you mentioned, going through that transition in my career, becoming a career coach, I was like, okay, I feel like I need this additional support to feel more empowered, to feel brave, and really go all in. So I joined, and I'm so happy about it. And the doors weren't even open. I was like, I gotta join. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't even a launching period. So I'm so happy about this decision. I feel like mentally, emotionally, I'm such in a better space now. And as you said, I feel like coaching is so useful, especially when it comes to your mindset, because when I joined you, I was like, okay, I feel like an imposter because I haven't done career coaching before. But as you said, I actually have a lot of reasons to be good at what I do. And thank God now, with a bit of time, I got a bit of experience that could show me that as well. But yeah, like my job now is also to do that with people who are looking for a career that's aligned with them, like showing them that sometimes we're not able to see the skills, the qualities we have that will allow you to be really great at what you do.
Totally. You definitely were afraid to make the pivot because you were like, I just don't have a ton of experience and stuff like that. But then when I was hosting our first live event, you even had somebody reach out to you who you had only worked with a couple times, and he had actually gotten the job that he had gone for. It's so amazing when we learn to just put ourselves out there, even though we're scared, even though we're nervous, even though we feel like a fraud, and then we actually see the results and we realize, oh, it really is just us getting in our own fucking way half the time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? All the time. It's always just us and how we think in the way of what we really truly want. I also wanted to ask you, what do you think is different about the Worthy Woman method?
Well, first of all, it's a lifetime access. So that's just amazing. I hadn't seen that anywhere else. And that's something you mention often. It's so useful to have that because it doesn't give you that stress of timing. Be like, okay, I got to achieve this and that within 3 months or 6 months, because then that will be it. I'm not going to be supported anymore. So that's something I really love, feeling like I have time. I can take my time. And then what's different? It's just the energy. It's super casual. It's not judgmental at all. I love the group of women inside of it. It's just, we all do different things and we're really interested in each other's work. We really do support each other. It's not just you coaching us. It's also us trying to help each other out, seeing that we have a lot of common issues and
Oh, many.
questions.
Everything.
Yeah. So in a way, it's really nice because you see that you're not the only one going through your emotions. People go through this kind of very similar things. Maybe they have different beliefs, different upbringings, different interpretations of those emotions. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the fear of not being enough, the fear of not being worthy. This container is amazing.
Oh my God. Yes, I'm so happy to have you inside because you're so right. It's a very non judgmental place, and being in a group is really important when you're an online entrepreneur because it can be very lonely and you can feel like, oh my God, I feel like a fraud. I'm not good enough. And what happens with your brain is you look at everyone else and you think, well, even if they feel like a fraud, they're not actually a fraud, but I actually am. It's just this weird thing that our brains like to tell us. So, one of the antidotes to imposter syndrome is knowing that everybody else feels this way. If you can just acknowledge that it's possible that your thoughts and feelings about yourself aren't true, then you really open up the door for everything else. But I loved that you said that other people inside are super supportive because they are. You guys care about each other so much. And I think it's just so important when you are doing your online business because you realize that you aren't alone in how you think and how you feel. And the cool thing too about a group is you can hear the other people getting coached and get coached on something yourself. I have been in numerous groups and I learned so much just by hearing somebody else be coached on their thoughts and their
Yeah,
feelings.
for
So,
sure. Sometimes I come to the weekly calls, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. And then other people start asking questions and getting coached by you. And immediately I get like inspired. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm facing this as well.
yeah.
So it's so true. Like we learn a lot from each other. And I love what you just said, like the fact that realizing that others feel that imposter syndrome as well, immediately you're not an imposter anymore because either we're all imposters or, it wouldn't make
Yes.
sense. So I love that you said that. It's so true.
I've also said that if you are not worried that you're an imposter, then you're probably scamming people because the people who are actual imposters and actual frauds, they're not
They don't
worried about
care.
that fact
Yeah.
and they don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's so true. Yeah, like that shows that you actually have good intentions, that you want to do a good job, and it can show up in so many different contexts. I feel like learning how to deal with that is so important in every single area of your life, not just your business.
Yes, you are singing to the choir here, so I love it. And lastly, about the Worthy Woman method, what shifts have you seen in your business and in your own mindset since joining the Worthy Woman method?
Well, I signed 2 clients, so that would be something tangible, I would say. But more than that, and I think that's even more important, is the motivation, the focus behind the self-belief. I just don't dread Mondays as I used to. I don't let like my emotions mean as much anymore. Like I accept them. I'm not saying that sometimes I don't have bad days, but I know how to deal with them. I've learned how to do it now. And it's just such a relief, to feel like, okay, this is not gonna last, and not making these movies in your head of how things are going to be terrible in the future.
These movies. That's so true. It's so true.
So that's the main difference, like that I can feel, is that just feeling like having the certainty that it's going to work and having the motivation to stay dedicated to what I do, even when you don't see results immediately. And I have seen some, but
you absolutely have, but like that's the point. Is I find that there's a lot of impatience when it comes to the online space and when somebody starts a business because they're holding themselves against standards that they are only seeing in the online space. And we really talked about that during our virtual event a couple of weekends ago, where we were really talking about like you can't hold your business to a standard of a highlight reel on social media. Your business is so much more than just what people see on Instagram, and having an arbitrary deadline for you to make it or for you to do something, that's not helping your business and it's not helping your self belief. And we talked about how instead of being consistent, be dedicated to your business and be dedicated to showing up even when you don't feel like it and still showing up and doing the work. So that was so good, Estelle. I'm so happy that you're in the Worthy Woman. We're so happy to have you inside. Now let's talk about you. You and I were talking a bit in the beginning before we started recording about how imposter syndrome shows up during a career transition. So can you tell us about that?
All right. So I feel like a lot of people kind of ended up doing a job they don't necessarily like. Maybe they used to like it, they don't like it anymore because it doesn't fit into their personal life anymore. Or maybe, and it was like this for me, you never really thought about what success means to you, what fulfills you, what your purpose is. And you just kind of follow the idea of success that you were sold growing up. So you just follow that, not really knowing where you're going, thinking you're doing the right thing. And at some points, and I think especially when you reach like your 30s, you realize, okay, I'm not fulfilled, right? So you've built up a bunch of experience, work experience, skills, and you realize this is not what you want to do. You're just getting burnt out. You hate Mondays. Your life sucks. Even though from outside it looks great, but yeah. So you realize you want to change. And then you look at your CV, whatever, your LinkedIn profile, your past achievements, and you're like, what the hell am I going to do with that? Like, how can I transition in a smooth way, in a way that I can still do something that is going to bring value, where I'm still going to earn maybe as much as I was, or even maybe more. And I feel like in that moment, when you're going through that transition, it's really impacting you and your self-esteem. And that's when imposter syndrome kicks in. Is like, who am I to be doing this new job? Who am I to switch to this field that I have no experience in? Going to this whole new environment. Who am I to do this when I have no certificate or degree in the specific industry? In that moment, even if you have this intuition and you want to listen to it, that you should change, it can really mess up your decisions, like to feel that imposter syndrome, because you're like, maybe it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I feel like people are so conditioned to feel fear and think that that means something. Like there's such a difference between intuition and fear, and it's really like checking in with your physical self and knowing, okay, is this intuition or is this just fear getting in the way? Like you really need to be able to tap into how you feel, because you could think, oh, it's my intuition telling me that this decision isn't right, when in reality, it just could be fear. And that's why coaching is so important, because then you can really pull that apart and be like, is this your intuition or is it just because you're scared shitless doing something new? When you were speaking about that, I came up with shame. There could be shame around a career transition later on in your life. You could be thinking, oh my God, I'm like 30. I should have my dream career at this point. I should be doing all these things and I'm not. So I feel like shame is something that may come up for your potential clients, because they're kind of thinking, hey, I'm not where I want to be.
Yeah, 100%. And there's actually a term for that. So it's a quarter life crisis. And I feel like shame around what you said, but there's also shame around feeling like you should have everything to be happy and you should be feeling grateful, but you're not. And you're like, what is wrong with me? And there's a lot of shame around that as well, I feel. And yeah, just one thing about the intuition, because you kind of like inspired me there. I feel like sometimes I really agree with what you were saying between fear and intuition. And I feel like intuition, most of the time, when you're clear on your emotions, as you said, like when you learn how to separate things, what are limiting thoughts from actual intuition, you're able to see that there's an answer that is immediately yes or no, right? Like that's your intuition. When you're creating issues in your head and like kind of spinning around, and like that's not intuition, that's fear. I just go back to the shame subject. I feel like it's something that holds you back so much from actually doing what you would be so good at. And it's such a shame, pun intended, because you're keeping yourself from really making an impact in this world by acting the best way you possibly could, using your best and favorite skills in the best environment possible for you.
Yes, precisely. It's like your thoughts and your feelings create all of your results in your life. Weird. It's not that weird at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think too that we were talking about this as well, is when something is new, people feel like, oh, this isn't for me because I'm not immediately good at it. But that is like another way that imposter syndrome shows up and tries to derail you from doing the new thing, because in reality, you just maybe have done a job or been in a field that you're super experienced in, but there was a time where you weren't. You had to learn that job and you had to learn the skills and all of that stuff. And can you work through the fact that this is just new? It can be hard, but it's probably so hard because it's new and you are making yourself feel bad about the fact that you're not immediately super good at it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, and then we talked about this before in my business, like lacking that patience with yourself. I think like we live in such a fast-paced world, and on social media we only see the highlights, and it makes us feel like we should succeed immediately, find our path immediately, like figure it out immediately. But no, and like see results immediately as well. It does take time. It's a process. I definitely feel like I could have won a lot of time and struggle if I had had a coach a few years ago, instead of going through this whole struggle myself. And like it really impacts your wellness when you don't know where it's coming from and you have no one to support you and guide you. So yeah, like figuring out myself what I wanted to do was such a relief for me. And now getting your support to like manage, the everyday thoughts, those limiting beliefs that keep you from going all in, that's just magical, like it's perfect. Like now there's no way I'm going to go back or give up. It's just, there's no way. Like that's what I want for my clients as well. Realize that they do have a choice, that you can take responsibility for your life, for your career, for the way you feel about yourself, about what you do every single day. And realize that, yeah, your thoughts are just thoughts. It's not reality. It's not because you tell yourself that this is a new thing and you're going to suck at it that it's necessarily true.
Yes.
In fact, I feel like if you think about it, and if it's something that attracts you, then it's probably something you would actually be really good at.
Yes, it's almost like you wouldn't desire something unless it was meant for you. So it's like if there is something that you can't get off and you just constantly are thinking about it, and that probably means that there is something there for you to explore. And also, just in the terms of this is a very long life, and why spend most of it doing a job you don't enjoy or doing something that is like sucking the soul out of you. It's kind of like when I was working my full-time job and working at my business, and I was like, I can't do this for the next 30 years of my life. Like I can't be in an office job in this organization for the next 30 years of my life. And if I was already feeling that way, like I knew, okay, there is something here that needs to change. But I love that you don't only do the career side of things, you're so holistic that you're thinking about their thoughts and their feelings and how their mindset really impacts the way that they go after their new jobs and all of that stuff. Because I think that, especially in the online space as well, I think that we need more of that holistic approach because really the strategy is just like a small piece of it, as I'm sure you've seen since you've joined the Worthy Woman Method, that the strategy is the smallest piece of the puzzle. And it's really
Absolutely.
how you think and feel each and every day that is going to repel you or pull you back from the success
Yeah,
that you want.
100%. Yeah. And it's very similar. The way I coach, there is a strategy, a methodology that starts with self-discovery, really understanding yourself, because without that, how are you going to find out what your purpose is? And exploring different options, and finally, really taking action. But during that whole process, so that's just the strategy, the roadmap, right? The methodology. But if you're not working simultaneously on your thoughts, you're just going to stay stuck in the same place, and you're not really going to take the necessary steps that are going to help you truly figure it out, right? I feel like the first step is to invest in yourself and accept that you need help.
And that coaching and this personal development world is not going away. It's just getting bigger and bigger. And especially if you suffer with imposter syndrome, like you may feel like it's shameful to get help or I should be able to do this on my own. But those are just more thoughts getting in the way of what you truly want to achieve. So,
Yeah, definitely. Or sometimes you might tell yourself, okay, I need to achieve this, and then I'll invest in myself, like I don't deserve it yet. Again,
yes.
shame,
Yes, so much shame. Yes.
But you're wasting so much time.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. Oh my God, so good, Estelle. Can you tell us how somebody can look for you on the socials and how somebody can work with you?
Yeah, 100%. So you can find me. I'm mostly active on Instagram, like you. So you can find me at your coach Estelle. And then also on LinkedIn at Estelle Petrequin. This is my last name. And then I also create a Facebook group where I hold like free events, free workshops. It's called Career Fulfillment for Millennials. So you can join for free. And finally, I also have a podcast called From Self-Doubt to Success. So yeah, you can just binge on all this material if you're interested in career and transitioning, or in general, if you're struggling with your job search, because that's also something I focus on. And basically the two ways you can work with me. First one would be to, do a 2-hour intensive session with me to prepare for your interview. So if you have those like typical scares before an interview, we're going to go through boosting your self-confidence, prepare your questions, the answers and all that. And the second way is through my program, the Career Alignment Academy, and that's a private coaching program for 3 months. And this is where we really go deep into who you are, what your purpose is, what kind of career would be really aligned with you and your aspirations, ending with the job search.
It's so good. You did such a good
Yeah.
job explaining all of that. Amazing. And I didn't know
Thank
you had a
you.
podcast. So good. And
Yeah.
I love the name. Yeah, amazing. Okay, guys. Well, Estelle, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. And thank you so much for being inside of the Worthy Woman Method. I absolutely love working with you. And I am so excited to see you succeed even more than you already have.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank
Of
you for having
course.
me inside of the Worthy Woman Method. It's amazing. And I really recommend it to anyone who's listening.
I hope you guys absolutely loved that episode with my client Estelle. And again, Estelle is in the Worthy Woman Method. This is a lifetime access group coaching container for coaches and service providers to consistently overcome imposter syndrome and limiting beliefs and mindset blocks to feel safe in their body and to have the business and life that they dream of by getting the fuck out of their own way. And you can go to the link in my show notes and sign up for the Feel Qualified Masterclass, which is happening next week. It's coming up on Monday, November 1st, and you will be automatically entered to be on the Worthy Woman Method waitlist, where you will save $222 on enrollment if you decide to enroll. So go ahead, sign up for the free masterclass, get all that value and all that amazing stuff from the masterclass, and then if the Worthy Woman is for you, we would love to have you inside. See you then. Thanks so much for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. Check out the show notes to get started on your free 3-day challenge to overcome your inner imposter. Once you're done listening today, screenshot this episode and share it to your Instagram story, tagging me at YourCoachJill so I can share it on my page. See you next time.